In our previous parts, we introduced the idea that A Song of Ice and Fire is not a typical fantasy story of good versus evil. In fact, it might not even be fantasy. It very well may be a post-apocalyptic tale of telepaths trying to kill each other. But it certainly ain't Tolkien. I bring up Tolkien because he was a pious man who believed in a world of good and evil. Our author, though, is not a religious man, and is a bit more nuanced. This is from a story called The Journal of Xavier Desmond from the Wildcard series. Why must we draw these lines, these fine distinctions, these labels and barriers that set us apart? Ace and Nat and Joker, capitalist and communist, Catholic and Protestant, Arab and Jew, Indian and Ladino, and on everywhere. And of course, true humanity is found only on our side of the line, and we feel free to oppress and rape and kill the other, whoever he might be. So cultural identity, religion included, and otherness are imagined human constructs. Our author is familiar with anthropology. Now yes, these are the words of a character, but this sentiment extends through nearly all of our author's work. While our author seems to have little problem with moderately religious people, religious zealots, as in ones that want to destroy otherness and kill the other, are consistently presented as villains. Our author doesn't see the world as good versus evil, but moderates versus extremists. For instance, in And Seven Times Never Kill Man, a group of religious zealots called the Steel Angels take over a planet and start killing the native Janshi. Our atheist protagonist comments, "The Steel Angels have made me believe in evil again." In The House of the Worm, zealot priests chop off the limbs of their religious leaders to make them more worm-like, and they urge the killing of another society called the Grounds. Survival actually rests on interbreeding with the Grounds instead of killing them off. In Dying of the Light, our protagonists are hunted by religious zealots who don't believe our protagonists are human. Half of the stories from Tuf Voyaging deal with a religious society called the Soothlamese. Their religion calls for them to breed as much as possible, which causes endless war with other civilizations and famine. In the Wildcards novel Inside Straight, a religious extremist called the Noor takes over the Middle East and starts committing genocide. And in The Lonely Songs of Lauren Dore, the religion of the Seven hunts down our infidel protagonist. Of course, the religions of Westeros all have extremists who want to destroy otherness as well. Aaron Greyjoy urges infidel sacrifice to the drowned god. The followers of the old gods used to sacrifice in front of heart trees. The followers of the many-faced gods' raison d'etre is to kill. And the sparrows from the Faith of the Seven are beginning to cause some trouble. But the most prominent religious zealots of our story are the followers of the Red God. They are completely and utterly intolerant of the other. In fact, their devil being is called the other, and all other gods in the world are just evil thralls of their devil. These religious zealots are so disgusting that they burn people alive. Considering so much time has been dedicated to villainizing religious extremists, it's interesting that so many people lend credence to what they say. But why should we? Why should we think that there's an Azor Ahai? Why should we think that there will be a battle for the dawn? Because Melisandre said so? Because Aaron Greyjoy had a dream? Our author even wrote a story called The Way of Cross and Dragon about how all religion is a big galactic lie. It would be a bit odd if there were any truth to Melisandre and Aaron's religions. It should also be noted that our author has spent a good deal of time painting miracle workers as charlatans. In fact, this is the plot of a Tuf Voyaging story called Call Him Moses. Technology is used to trick a local population into believing someone is a prophet. And we see this all over the place in Ice and Fire as well. Aaron Greyjoy seemingly resurrects people from the dead with CPR. Melisandre makes her fires twist and change colors with powders. And Qyburn becomes known as a necromancer because he dissects bodies while they're still alive. Today we would call that surgery. Now you may be thinking, what about blood sacrifice? Doesn't that prove that there's some truth to their religion? Well, let's talk about blood magic for a second. Melisandre thinks the blood of kings can work incredible magic, but there's a fundamental contradiction in what she says about it. Edric Storm, a bastard, has the blood of kings, so the power would be genetic? But Melisandre also believes that Mance Rayder has the blood of kings, and he's just the son of a random crow. Only belief makes him king, so belief seems to have a factor in the abilities of Melisandre. I bring this up because belief and its effect on telepathy and Teek is a reoccurring theme for our author. The great and powerful turtle isn't confident enough to use his Teek outside of his car. He knows it's only a subconscious confidence thing, but he can't get around it. This is a plot point in Nightflyers as well, as Royd has to believe he has Teek. And of course, building Bran's confidence is a huge part of his storyline as well. The point being, blood sacrifice might just be a subconscious crutch, like the turtle's shell. Melisandre's powers seem to be that of Teek. After all, wind got pushed into sails. I'm not saying it's Melisandre's Teek, but it's Teek nonetheless. Somebody observed Alistair Florent getting burned, believed it made a difference, and subconsciously teeked the wind. Belief, confidence, and Teek may also explain why Dany survived the pyre. We know Dany isn't fireproof, and it seems incredibly unlikely that she would stumble upon a working spell. However, we do know that every dream Dany received made her more confident. Dany's belief that she wouldn't be hurt teeked the fire away. Or consider Arya's face-changing ability in Braavos. When she feels her face, it's unchanged, which makes me wonder if the house did anything for her. But they do tell her that her face is changed, so her subconscious Teek could alter her appearance. A subconscious confidence may also explain why Varamir Sixskins is so powerful. But for this, we'll have to talk about cannibalism. Cannibalism is of course a major theme of Bran's story. Bran first tells us about the Rat Cook, who tricked the Andal King into eating his own son. The Rat Cook was then doomed to consume his own children for an eternity. It's then heavily implied that Bran and company are eating humans north of the Wall. The crew asks about men that were following them while chowing down on a pig that Cold Hands found. And then with the Three-Eyed Crow, Bran is given a bowl of porridge that looks like blood. He is given this bowl around the same time that Jojen and Mira mysteriously disappear. We are clearly meant to wonder if this singer's stew has people in it. After all, Tyrion's singer's stew definitely did. Our final moment with Bran is him as a werewood, drinking the blood of a sacrifice. Now historically, societies that practiced cannibalism usually believed they were absorbing the power or essence of a person. And the infamous Hrangan Minds that share so many similarities to the Children of the Forest also practiced cannibalism. So it stands to reason that this is what the Children of the Forest are doing with Bran. By eating other people, namely telepaths, the Children of the Forest believe that Bran will increase his telepathic ability. And it should be noted that Varamir Sixskins, one of the most powerful telepaths in the world, did practice cannibalism. But of course, the science of it doesn't make any sense at all. How is dumping somebody's heart into your stomach acids going to help your brain? And yes, I understand that telepathy isn't real and this is a fantasy novel. Rather than accepting that it's cannibalism that increases telepathic abilities, it seems more likely that cannibalism and blood sacrifice have a placebo effect. The person believes they will be more powerful if they do this action, just as the turtle believes he'll be more powerful hiding inside his car. In fact, Varamir Sixskins says as much. He tells us that his mentor Hagen was held back by his fear of his power. Clearly Hagen's belief had an effect on his own telepathy. Or as Varys tells us, power resides where men believe it resides, no more and no less. And when it really comes down to it, telepathy, Teek, and a little lying explains all of Melisandre's magic. Davos and others may believe she has powers, but she's mostly a charlatan. Favorable winds or a lucky storm? Teek can push a front in the right direction. An eagle starts on fire? It sounds like a telepath tried to cross the barrier of the wall. We know that Jon's telepathy is unable to do that. Melisandre just took credit for that one. Surviving poison? You know, Crescent actually left out the poison while he napped. Maester Pylos probably saw it, informed the king, and provided antidotes. Glamoring? Well, we don't know what kind of futuristic holographic technology exists in Ashai, but the House of Black and White said that glamoring was nothing more than bending light. It sounds again like Teek. Which brings us to Melisandre's most impressive magic trick, shadow babies. So Renly is cut open by a sword that is not there. How is this trick pulled off? Well, Stannis tells us what he was doing that night. He was in a deep sleep that no one could wake him from. He also dreamed that he killed Renly. Now this is remarkably similar to Bran. When he wargs Summer, people can't wake him up, and he feels like the whole thing is a dream. It certainly seems like Stannis was skin-changing open air. He was a disembodied consciousness like Varamir Sixskins was temporarily, and it seems like Stannis' Teek split open Renly. But wait, Stannis isn't a telepath, is he? Not that I know of, but if telepathy can be dampened by sweet sleep, it can probably be enhanced by another drug. In Nightflyers, there is a drug that enhances telepathic ability called Esperon, and the Children of the Forest have acorn paste while the Warlocks have Shade of the Evening to enhance telepathic abilities. So it may be that Melisandre artificially induced Stannis' disembodied consciousness. The second Shadow Baby incident doesn't seem to involve Stannis at all. Courtney Penrose is simply thrown from a tower, something that can be done with Teek. Or much more likely, one of Courtney Penrose's own men. Keep in mind, everyone at Storm's End should be on Stannis' side. He is the rightful lord of Storm's End. Courtney Penrose opposes Stannis for personal reasons. He's scared for Edric's storm. So imagine you're anyone else in that castle. Who do you support? Your rightful lord and king, who has a much stronger force? Or a crazy Castellan? A betrayal of Courtney Penrose is astoundingly likely. All Melisandre had to do is have a spy catch wind of it and take credit for it. So what was the deal with the Shadow Baby? Nothing. Melisandre put on a glamour show to try to make Davos into a believer. The point of all of this is Melisandre is much less powerful than she lets on, and she's supposed to be the most powerful person in her order. I see no reason to believe that her religion is special in any way. What I'm saying is, in the end, there are no gods in the world of Ice and Fire, and there is no prophecy, and there is no magic other than Teke and telepathy. There is, however, belief. Now you may be thinking, what about the awakening of magic that seems to be occurring? Why does there seem to be more supernatural events now than a few years ago? Quaithe even mentions this in Karth to Dany. Well, let's talk about the Red Comet. As it turns out, our author loves the idea of celestial objects not being celestial objects. In Tuf Voyaging, there's a story called The Plague Star about a star that returns every 3 generations to kill people. With the star came plague and disease and bacteria. In the end, the star is just an ecological engineering corps spaceship. The ship had an elliptical orbit and was programmed to wage biowar. Of course, this doesn't sound like the comet at all. The comet, if anything, seems to be enhancing magic. Or, if there's no magic, everybody's telepathy and Teke. How on earth would this be possible? Well, as it turns out, in the story Nightflyers, an object that fits this description exactly appears. In Nightflyers, scientists go to investigate a spacefaring organism called the Vulcran. The Vulcran propels itself through space via Teke. And guess what happens when the Vulcran gets close to planets? People's telekinetic abilities go wild. In fact, the story even claims the Vulcran was around Earth around the time of Jesus. That's right, our author is implying that Jesus' miracles were actually telekinesis. The reason magic seems to be returning in the world of Ice and Fire is because a celestial object is enhancing their telepathy and telekinesis. That object is likely a Vulcran. Now you may be wondering, if there are no gods and no prophecy and no magic in the world of Ice and Fire, then what is A Song of Ice and Fire? Where is this whole story going? Well, all secrets will be revealed in Part 8.